Crayfish, also known as crawfish or crawdads, are freshwater crustaceans found all over the world. There are 550 species worldwide, with 25 known species right here in Virginia.
With their abundance, it's not hard to imagine that these little invertebrates play a significant role in freshwater ecosystems. You see, crayfish are omnivorous and will prey upon just about anything they can catch. This makes them an essential part for the river's natural cleanup crew. Likewise, crayfish also play a vital role as a food source for many other organisms, such as larger fish, mammals, and waterfowl.
As we dove deeper into researching crayfish, we noticed they have a very large tolerance range for water temperatures. Research conducted by specialists Helfrich, Parkhurst, and Neves at Virginia Tech concluded crayfish have an optimal range between 4 and 24 degrees Celsius and show signs of inactivity when outside it.
This observation led us to wonder if crayfish mobility, depending on temperature, could potentially affect their speed of escape and the predation levels upon them. Thus, we hypothesized that the temperature of the water affects the mobility of crayfish and plan an experiment to test this.
We collected 10 crayfish from the North River in Bridgewater, Virginia on October 15th. With the help of Dr. Krebs, we identified these to be the spiny-cheeked crayfish, or Connectes lamosus, by locating a spine on the side of its carapace. We recorded the head-to-tail length and sex of our individuals and tagged them with distinct tail clippings.
To house our crayfish for the duration of the experiment, we set up a multi-tank cooling and heating pool. The idea behind the system was to use heaters and a chiller to alter the temperature surrounding pool water, and in doing so, control the temperature of the tanks via convection. We allowed our tank system to sit for 3 days before going out to collect our specimens to allow any additional chlorine to evaporate out of the water.
Once the crayfish had been allowed a 24-hour acclimation period to their new environment, we began our first trial. To make sure our crayfish were traveling a set distance, we used a shallow trough. We measured out 65 centimeters and marked it along the bottom of the plastic container using tape. First, we recorded water temperature, then filled the trough with water from the pool.
Crayfish were then placed at the closest end of the runway. We used a stopwatch to record travel time between them crossing the 0 mark and the end mark. Stubborn crayfish were prodded with a wooden stick after inactivity, with intervals of 2 seconds. We ran this trial with each of our specimens one by one. We recorded time and number of prods for each individual. Crayfish were tested within their optimal range at 23.9, 20.3, 16.5, 13, 8.5, and 6.1 degrees Celsius. They were allowed at least 24 hours in between trials.
The entirety of our experiment lasted 27 days. Upon its completion, the crayfish were returned to the North River.
Results from our experiment showed a positive correlation between the speed of crayfish and the temperature of the water. As you can see by the graph, as the temperature increased, so did the speed. We calculated R squared and got 0.7057, showing the correlation between the two variables.
We also gathered mean values of crayfish prods. Our R squared of 0.0004 demonstrated no correlation between the number of prods needed to instigate movement and water temperature.
Based on these results, we can support our hypothesis that water temperature affects crayfish locomotion. Researchers Ecology, and Girardi from 2 universities in Europe found similar results in their study, stating that the rise of water temperature within the range of 5 to 25 degrees Celsius was associated with the increase of red swamp crayfish locomotion activity.
A study conducted by Bub, Lucas, and Thom of the University of Durham furthered our study. They noted that distances traveled by wild signal crayfish between refuges were shortened and the time within these hiding places were increased when water temperature was low. This would support a behavioral change in crayfish movement to limit predation when constrained by locomotive ability.
Crayfish play a vital role in stream ecology. Based on our own results and observations of others, there seems to be a strong correlation between crayfish locomotion and water temperature. This change may connect to crayfish behavior, as they seem to take measures to avoid predation when under motor limitation. It's important to mention that other factors may have affected our results, such as crayfish desensitivity to our experimental process or fatigue. Despite this, our experiment suggests that there is correlation between crayfish locomotion and water temperature. Further research would be needed to support predation effects.